There's real science behind this in that there are people that get heart transplants that suddenly get cravings for foods that they never had or can I believe, do not quote me on this, you have to do a quick Google. I could be making this up off the top of my head. I don't think I am. That they even have learned or know languages and also play instruments that they
I'd have to look that up.
I think I'm making that up.
Of,
I don't think so, but I think I might be making that up.
As a child of the 90s, it reminds me of the Treehouse of Horror with the evil toupee.
Sure.
Like the Simpsons with the evil
toupee. Which is actually based on Body Bags, John Carpenter's Body Bags.
Right. But I saw the Simpsons first.
No. Sorry. Body Parts. No, Body Parts.
Body Parts. Sorry. Yeah.
Not
I'm just saying, as a kid, I wasn't shown that. As a kid, it was just the Simpsons episode,
which is a great
episode,
episode.
Yeah.
But the point is that it's this idea that there is cellular memory and that it can be inherited and transferred, and so the idea that she's echoing,
which is exceedingly deep for this silly movie.
Super fucking deep and unexplained, really deep. Completely unexplained.
It's almost like the collective trauma that these women have experienced is bubbling up through the only outlet it has, which is this new head.
Yeah, and so there's a movie that I know you haven't seen, but you have to. I can't recommend this movie enough. It's by one of the dudes who.
What if I have seen it?
If you have seen it, I'll be super happy, but I don't think you have. It's by the director of Tragedy Girls, and it's called Patchwork. And it's about you have to watch this movie. You have to watch this movie. It's 3 women who are Frankenstein together into the same body, trying to figure out who did this to them. And they all share the mind. And so it's just them normal, not Frankenstein in a kitchen, but that's a metaphor for the mind. So they're all in there talking about how they want to do things and stuff. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's really, really fucked up body horror. It's terrifying. It's a terrifying story. The older I get, the more fucked up Frankenstein is to me. When you're younger, Frankenstein is just a monster.
It's fun, but when you think about Frankenstein for 5 minutes, you realize how genius it is, number one.
Yes, absolutely genius. But the idea, how terrifying it would be that you are life created from death and that your body doesn't belong to you.
Also,
and
I mean, whenever I think about Frankenstein, and now when I think about Frankenhooker, as I get older and start to fall apart more, and as we feel death creeping upon us, you realize how easy it is for the body to fail in so many minuscule ways.
Oh God, I'm shuddering.
I'm just saying, thinking about putting a body back together and reanimating it, it's such a terrifying. I'm not. Well, it's terrifying, but I'm not insulting the stories. I'm saying it's such an implausible act to actually put a body back together to make it work. Every vein and stuff being connected back to each other and somehow working in that fashion is insane.
Especially if it was decomposed,
Right. Well, I'm just saying Frankenstein's a reverse of the natural order in such a catastrophic way. You know what I mean?
It's so
perverse. Yeah,
beyond perverse. It's it is truly, even if you are an agnostic or an atheist, it is sacrilegious. It's almost sacrilegious in its.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Even just from a human perspective.
Yeah, it just goes against every law of nature. You know what it is? It is so purely distilled from the human ego and id. That's how it goes against the universe, literally. The idea that man could be God, that man is going to go against the natural order of things and is going to perversely reverse death or think that it's reversing death. And instead,
or that's not even reversing death. It's creating new life while also fighting death. It's actually, it's the worst possible thing you could do.
It's imitating a semblance of life. It's reanimation. It's imitating creation. Life.
Yeah.
Reanimation is not technically life. Reanimation is just consciousness.
And that's why Frankenstein will be an immortal story that will never get old. It just won't.
It's the first science fiction story. It's the first like real modern horror story.
Give it
It
up to
is
Mary Shelley, man. Talk about a
it's the
genius.
GOAT. It's the GOAT, man.
Yeah.
It really is the fucking GOAT. And you know what's funny? I've never read it, like the actual story.
You haven't?
I've never read the
You
story
gotta
itself.
read it. You gotta
I
read it.
have
Man.
it upstairs with it's annotated. It's the annotated Frankenstein, which means that in the outer rim, and I just haven't cracked it yet.
I just realized that if Mary Shelley came back to life, which is funny in itself, and you said, "Hey, Mary Shelley, I've seen Frankenhooker like 30 times, but I've actually never read your whole book."
It's true, man.
It's funny. Yeah.
Although
you probably should read Frankenstein, Jeff. You've seen like the Universal Frankenstein, right?
Of course.
Okay, I'm just making sure you've seen the OG.
But the book is way different. My favorite version.
Have you seen the Robert De Niro Frankenstein?
That's my favorite one.
I like that movie, and people hate it. People hate that movie.
Love it. I am a diehard champion of that movie.
Because people hate that movie, right?
With a passion, and I literally will judge people. I'll be like, hey, do you love that movie or do you hate that movie? And if you love that movie, like, you're one of the good ones. Yeah, Bob, you're one of the good ones. Because I've
always loved it.
There's no reason to hate it. There's no reason to hate that movie. It's so fucking great. It gets the same hate that Waterworld gets for some ridiculous reason.
Well, Waterworld's a masterpiece without question, so everyone can go to hell.
Everybody can go to hell.
Yeah, Waterworld rules. The cable guy was right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. But yes, I absolutely want to read it. I have it upstairs. You know how it is with books. You buy.
My favorite.
You just leave it up. You leave it.
I got you. I do that. I have tons of books I haven't read, but
right.
Of the classics like that, I'm still a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde man. In fact, that might be my favorite of those ever. That might be my favorite book is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but Frankenstein is up there, man. Like it's up there. It's good.
Well, I'm really glad
it's great. What am I saying? It's good. It's great.
I'm glad that I have the annotated version, which, like I said, like gives you definitions for certain, like, difficult language, like all that sort of stuff. So you can have the commentary to go with the novel, which is, I just feel still,
you should jump in naked. Just jump in naked to the original.
I will. I very much will. I know in the book, one thing I know is that they don't even like show what happens. We don't know the dark process. He just brings him to life, which I think is, what's kind of interesting, because maybe when Mary Shelley was writing it, maybe she couldn't imagine what kind of process could do it. And in her mind, like, why do I have to explain it? I'll just jump to Mary
Shelley inherently knew that she didn't need to explain the double mumbo jumbo.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
She just knew it just needed to happen. I don't need to explain how.
It just needs to happen. I don't need to explain how.
Whenever you have someone say, like, you know what, in Avengers, they didn't explain how the time travel worked. And you say, yeah, Mary Shelley didn't explain how the science worked in Frankenstein. What do you want? You don't need to. It's just that it's a plot device to get us there, to get us to where we need to go. That's it.
Right.
That's how you tell a story. I don't need to know the technical details of it.
I love that, man. I really do. I really do. And the thing is,
what Frankenstein originally was, he is not
right.
He's not Dracula. He's not trying to maliciously do things to people.
There's no malevolence in,
he's not
Frankenstein's monster.
Right.
He is, which, again,
he's a scared, He's a scared animal that's reacting to what is being thrown at him.
Confused and disoriented.
Yeah.
By what he is and where his place is in this world and whatnot, and trying to make sense of it all. And again, just shows how brilliant Mary Shelley is. The thing that works about Frankenstein so well is that you can tell it's the story that I never get sick of this story, and it's a story that you can tell over and over and over again.
Have I ever told you this, Jeff?
So many different ways. Yeah,
growing up. So my entire, this is probably super obvious, but my entire education on film growing up from two parents who were not into cinema was from my father, who only liked comedy movies. So for me, until probably like the aughts, I didn't actually know that Young Frankenstein wasn't the Frankenstein. I thought Young Frankenstein was just normal Frankenstein. So I assumed Frankenstein was a comedic character for a good portion of my life. I didn't know it was actually
you just
horror.
Thought Peter Boyle was the way.
I thought Peter Boyle was
the way.
Yeah, I did. I didn't, because my dad didn't show me the real Frankenstein. He just showed me Young Frankenstein 1,000 times. So
listen, I've seen Edison's Frankenstein. I've seen Whale's Frankenstein. You know, and that's a beautiful thing about a story. You know, people can come. There are some stories that, like, Frankenstein is such a universal story, like, that could be adapted in so many ways. It's just so there's so many different movies that you would never expect to be a Frankenstein story. Actually, that might be a really good top 5. Top 5 Frankenstein stories that you wouldn't think are Frankenstein stories. You have to really think about it, but,
you have to
like,
go
it's
deep. You have to
definitely
go deep. Yeah.
it's definitely possible in the same way that, like, look at, like, there's a universal nature to another James Whale film, and that is The Old Dark
I mean,
House, which is the basis for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like,
I
if
was
you think that the Rocky Horror Picture Show
It's
to
just
think that was
Frankenstein.
no, that it's The Old Dark House.
I know.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
saying,
and Frankenstein
right.
too.
It is obviously also Frankenstein.
I just was about to say it's also a Frankenstein movie. I totally forgot that.
Well, see, Jeff, it's like Frankenstein isn't just about that type of story. You could also say, like, it's become a metaphor for a lot of story tropes and premises. Like,
That's why
I'm trying to
top
think, like,
5 Frankenstein
this is a
stories
really
that
weird one. This is why I'm a really weird one. I could use this, I guess, but I won't for the top 5. But you could say, like, Rocky 5 is a Frankenstein story.
Sure.
Rocky creates his own monster
That's
out
the
of his
trope.
own need to keep fighting, and
That's
it
the
comes in the
trope.
form of Tommy Gunn.
That's the trope. It's
a
the
metaphorical
hook.
Frankenstein, right?
In the same way that you can have Die Hard with Christmas, you could have Alien or you could have
Frankenstein with
Jaws and
boxing.
you know, Frankenstein with boxing. That's what it is. So Frankenstein is one of those movies
It doesn't
that
mean body parts are sewn together all the time. That's the point.
no, it just means that you could
Yeah.
what it means, the heart of Frankenstein, there's a single sentence that could be at the heart of Frankenstein. It's that I created a monster that I can't control. That's it. That's what it is. And it's very most simplified form, you know?
I would almost add in, like, the word either hubris or desire. Through those things, I created a monster.
Right.
Like, you know what I
So
mean?
my
Like the
the
hubris
hubris
against
in
science, or
creating
my
a monster.
desire
Yes.
to live again through someone else, or
Yeah.
whatever you have, you know, like that's a metaphor you could write a
Oh,
billion stories on.
Brian's got a great one. Jurassic Park is absolutely
Jurassic Park, yeah.
Frankenstein. Science
No, it
amok.
totally is.
It's science
It's
amok.
science corrupt. I mean, you know what? And if you even want to argue, you could say in the later movies, they actually almost say that it's a
Sure.
Frankenstein story, because Dr. Wu says they're not
Yes.
dinosaurs. I made monsters. You wanted monsters. I made them. So they
Yes.
admit later in the continuity that they
Yes.
are monsters. They're not dinosaurs. And it's also a great way to explain why they're not scientifically accurate anymore. I've always thought that was great.
Bob, I think we're gonna have to do this right now because we have 2. We have Rocky 5. We have
Rocky
Jurassic
5.
Park.
I love that Rocky 5 is one of them. I love Rocky 5.
Great.
I don't care that Rocky 5 is hated. I like it. I'm a big Rocky 5 fan.
Is Karate Kid 3? No, Karate Kid 3 is not.
No,
it doesn't work.
Say that.
It doesn't work. It doesn't
as
work.
much as I adore Karate Kid 3. No, it does not.
It's just they're definitely they're out there. They're out there. They just need to be thought up. I mean, you know, one could argue, okay, now here's where it gets a little. Now, what about vampire stories? Because a vampire that makes another vampire, and then that vampire turns on that vampire, that thematically they overlap in some sort of Venn diagram. It's not exact. Oh no, you know what? It doesn't work. A vampire making another vampire.
Less. Yeah,
it works less. No, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. However, I would argue that the person that maybe it doesn't.
You
work
could argue
all the
like
time.
It would almost be
Victor Frankenstein is the monster. He's like human is the monster.
Anytime you have a Victor Frankenstein type character, and obviously a scientific character that is obsessed with the truth of the universe or something, usually has some sort of Frankenstein metaphor, like even down to Back to the Future, right? There is no Frankenstein monster, but I think you could argue that Doc Brown's obsession with creating something that works or finding time travel creates a monster, which is the vehicle itself, which he wants to destroy at one point, where he admits in the third movie, like, this thing has caused nothing but pain and trouble. Like, it's literally become a monster in his own life.
Probably that is like as it's a real stretch. I would
It's
allow
a
it.
stretch, but you understand what
I
I'm
would allow
saying?
it.
Like,
Yes.
his own scientific curiosity and even hubris created something that is out of control.
Obviously, okay, so both Bride of Reanimator and Return of Living Dead Part 3 fall
I mean, they're
into this
direct.
category.
Yeah, they're direct references.
Right,
Yeah.
direct. Yeah, it would be direct. That wouldn't.
My personal favorite would probably be, if I had to think about it, would be Bride of Chucky, which
Bride of Chucky,
and
sure.
if
Sure.
anyone has been watching the Chucky TV
Ah, la,
show,
la, la, la.
I'm not giving this on a spoiler. It's obvious throughout all of the movies and especially now through the TV show that Don Mancini worships fucking Frankenstein. He loves Frankenstein. Like, that is the reason Bride of Chucky is called Bride of Chucky, because it's Bride of
Oh
Frankenstein.
shit. Oh
Like
shit.
he worships he worships those movies.
All right, Bob.
So
Bob,
yeah.
I have one. I have
Okay,
one.
good.
And I'm really excited to tell it. It's not one, it's a genre that I know we're
Okay.
gonna find. Ready?
Okay.
Anything like She's All That, which was
Yes.
written by
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yes, I love that you're on board with
No,
this.
totally. You create, like, I would say Jawbreaker.
Jawbreaker, yes, that's one.
Jawbreaker.
It's not
She's
no,
all
She's
that
All That
less.
is not. No, no,
No, but
She's All That is not.
Jawbreaker,
But
yes.
you understand what I'm saying, like the
Yes,
idea
where,
of
like,
yeah,
I made you, and then the
right.
person, the geek that they pulled out of obscurity
Jawbreaker.
turns
Jawbreaker.
into like an ego case that
Okay,
can't be
that's number
stopped.
3. That's number 3 for sure.
Jawbreaker's number 3.
Yes! I
Yeah,
love
okay.
this. Is May. May is on the list. It has to be. May
May
is
is good.
Frankenstein's story. Like, it's not, although, however, it does not thematically work in that way.
Right.
She does not, the monster doesn't rebel. All she does is build a monster that comes to life at the end. By
I
the
mean,
way,
it can be as simple as that, but we're thinking more
no,
thematic, you
no,
know?
no, no. It's the idea that you build a monster that you cannot control that turns against you. That is the
Yeah, Rocky
formula.
5, right, yes, I got
Rocky
it.
5,
Yeah.
obviously Rocky Horror is there too, because
Rocky
that happens in
Horror,
Rocky Horror.
right.
God, what else? There's gotta
It's like,
be.
you know what? As soon as we end this show, I'll think of
I
like
know there's
30
gonna
of
be
them.
like a
I'll think of
1,000
30
of
of them.
them, and it's
Yeah.
just, oh man, I love that though. I love that is a thing. Even
It usually involves like a protege or something like that.
right.
I mean, Mean Girls, you could almost argue, is a little bit that too, right?
Sure.
Yeah, Mean Girls has
We will coin this the Frankenstein trope. That is
yeah,
what we shall coin it as. It's the
right.
Frankenstein. It's nothing that we didn't invent. It's just the idea that what is this thing called? It's the
I mean,
Frankenstein trope.
Jeff, you really hit on it with the high school movies, because right now I'm thinking of
Yeah,
Can't Buy Me Love. Oh my
yes,
God. Can't
absolutely.
Buy Me Love is such a yeah.
Absolutely.
He totally turns into an egotistical monster.
I mean, but
Dr. McDreamy.
that's literally what it is. It's like you turn me into a thing that and I forget who I am. Well, that's usually like the teen twist on it. It's like I forget who I am, and then I got to get
Well,
back
and
to it.
the difference is that the monster doesn't end up dying. The monster usually, in those cases, the monster learns that they've gone too far and they
Right.
come back to Earth.
Comes to their senses
They come to their
and come
senses and become a good human again.
right. Oh my God. Oh no, no, it doesn't work. I was gonna say Grease. It doesn't work. Grease doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't
doesn't
work. It
really
doesn't
work.
work.
Yeah.
Almost worked.
A lot of these
Almost worked.
I'm trying to think of movies with makeovers, because makeovers
Right.
would be the science scene in the Frankenstein
Right.
metaphor. And
Right.
then and then that person becomes anew.
What about Weird Science?
I mean, Weird Science obviously is a direct reference to
It's a direct
Frankenstein.
reference. It's not the Frankenstein trope, though.
Thematically, it is not Frankenstein, but
No, it's not
it
the
is like
Frankenstein trope.
Frankenstein plot wise, but not thematically, right? But
Um,
that was definitely an inspiration, though. Frankenstein's an
in
inspiration.
Cobra Kai, the show, we have it with the young black
they
boy.
do it constantly. They do it
Oh,
constantly.
they do it in a bunch of different ways, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the kid.
Everyone on
the
that
new
show
kid.
is creating Frankensteins that are
Right, that
constantly
they
going
can't
back
control.
to being
Yeah, it's like an
cycle.
endless circle.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian in the comments is saying, "Is Carrie pushing it too far?"
Carrie.
I would say Carrie does not fall into it at all.
Well, who
unfortunately.
trained I mean, I don't know. Am I forgetting Carrie? Did Carrie get like
Carrie's
shown how to do it, or
No, Carrie just had a power, and her mother was trying to stifle it. Her mother didn't really create it, and here's the thing,
okay?
part
So
of
wait,
the
I see what Brian's
Frankenstein
saying though. I see what Brian's saying, like the actual abuse to form Carrie into the daughter that the mother
and then
wants.
she rebels
She rebels,
by
and she basically enacts her powers out of her mother's own need to control.
okay,
It's
okay.
Brian, it's not that bad, to be honest with you. It's not that bad.
I would say it works. I'd say it's
It's
75%. I give
looser.
it
It's
75%.
looser. It's a looser one.
It's looser like the one that Bob said. And here's another one. Christine. Christine almost works. What's his face? He has that Frankenstein like transformation, but no one makes him like that. He doesn't have a Victor Frankenstein, which is why it falls
Yeah.
through. You need the Frankenstein trope works like this. There has to be a Victor Frankenstein. There has to be a
monster.
There has to be a monster, and there has to be a part where they can no longer control the monster that they created. Those three elements.
And if the monster kills the Victor Frankenstein metaphor, then that's even better. You know what I mean? Like
those three elements are needed and necessary for the Frankenstein trope to apply and plug into any movie, really, in any kind of genre. They're Frank adjacent. They're adjacent. They're Frankenstein trope adjacent, I would say. Yes. They tick 2 out of the 3 boxes, but not all of the boxes, and that is the result. We need to talk about, yes, that is true. Rue Morgue, you are right. Glenn Danzig and Jerry did make Doyle, and Doyle is a Frankenstein's monster. It's perfect.
Okay, I'll take your word for it, Jeff.
Rue Morgue,
yeah.
Rue Morgue, I'll allow it.
So there can be real life Frankensteins, is what you're saying. What about Deadly Friend?
That's with the robot. That's the robot in the house. That's Wes Craven. I don't know.
You know, Amy, I haven't seen that movie since the early 90s, but
I remember very long.
The only thing I remember is the robot throwing the basketball at Mama Fratelli's head and it exploding. That's what I remember from that movie.
It could be argued Terminator could be argued as Frankenstein.
It's like on a mass scale, but not in a character scale.
It's definitely not on a character scale. Although Terminator 2 is more, because they go back in time, they kill the dude.
I think that's
what do you mean?
Loose. It's a little loose.
They got to kill the dude who friggin'
I know, but I'm just saying the themes of the movie to me don't really scream that. They don't really.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
They don't really scream what that is. Like humanity is the Victor Frankenstein there, but it's not what the movie is truly about.
Right. Yeah. It is a really fun sort of concept to play with and figure out. And
Jawbreaker's my favorite so far.
Jawbreaker's a great one. I just love the idea. She's all that. If she's all that, hold on a second. Freddie Prinze Jr. creates what's her face. By the way,
the thing is, she's all that. She never becomes egotistical and stuff. She never.
No, but she is not controlled. So we're missing the monster.
Right. It doesn't. She's all that doesn't work, but Jawbreaker
she doesn't become monster. Yeah. She doesn't become a monster. It only has 2 out of the 3.
Right.
She is created and she does rebel, but she
remains
monstrous.
a good person the entire movie, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and yes, I've seen She's All That way too many times.
Which is written by M. Night Shyamalan.
I know.
Which is the most amazing factoid.
Much like Stuart Little, if you didn't know that. So
wait, what?
He wrote Stuart Little. Yeah.
It makes me love M. Night so much more.
I mean, you know what's funny? You gotta eat, man. You gotta work.
I hate to say this, like I love all of his fantastical movies and like his directed movies that he's directed, but I have to say, I think pound for pound and story wise, I think She's All That might be more airtight than some of the movies that he writes and directs. Not all of them, but some of them. I think She's All That just might stay. It's it's like formulaic, but like it holds up.
Talk about a movie that was like a staple of aughts television. Like I saw that so many times.
It's more like aughts, right.
Aughts,
like 1999, 2000,
like Comedy Central from like 2000 to 2005. I
hack,
it's just she
e, sack.
right, right. Yeah.
Oh
But yeah,
man.
I would go with Jawbreaker. Jawbreaker has a much clearer Frankenstein vibe to it. So
Listen, we
yeah,
we need to land this airplane, but this is fucking I love this conversation. I
yeah,
love where
no,
this
it's good.
conversation went.
Yeah,
This was such a fucking fun, creative exploration of Frankenstein that I was not intending.
right.
We still need to discuss the very end of Frankenhooker because of like where everything lands and what the final
It's what makes the movie honestly like great, and it has a
yeah.
good spirit is because of where it
Yes.
ends.
Yes. Again, I guess I'm slightly ambivalent, but don't want to be. Like, I wanna be proud of, like, the idea that I have come up with my own name for something that probably has already existed
It probably
in
if it does, I
writing.
didn't know about it.
It
So
probably already exists, but if it doesn't exist, the idea of the what is the Frankenstein
the
trope?
Frankenstein trope, yeah,
Yeah, it's the Frankenstein trope,
it
and
probably has a name, but we
it
both don't
probably has
know
a
it.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't wanna take
yeah,
credit for it or anything, but, like,
yeah.
the idea that but we came to this idea on our own, an
Mhm.
epiphany on our own thinking about it. You know how you that can happen sometimes. And, this was really fun, and Bob explores all sorts of mechanics like this all the time on his own show, Writer's Blockbuster, with
Yeah.
his very talented co-hosts. The 3 of them, they put their heads together and they talk movies and, break down the script.
Those guys talk, and I add some stuff every now and then.
You add
A
so much.
as the
You're the
saying
heart of that show, Bob. You're the
thank
heart of
you,
that
thank
show.
you. I well, yeah, and if you wanna listen to that, I would say just the best thing to do is follow me at Thundergrunt Bob on IG or Twitter, and go to the links on
Links in
my
description.
yeah, right.
Go to the link tree,
Yeah,
okay?
link